Hello friends, we are continuing with our talk about vitamins and mental health. Today we are going to discuss about vitamin B12. Vitamin B12 deficiency can potentially cause severe and irreversible damage, especially to the brain and nervous system. And what will be the symptoms? The symptoms will be fatigue, lethargy, difficulty walking, staggering balance problems. Depression can happen, poor memory can happen, and can cause symptoms of mania and psychosis. That is because of vitamin B12 deficiency. Now, B12 is basically an essential vitamin that has to be absorbed or taken every day, and it has a process of absorption in the mouth. From the saliva it interacts with some proteins, it goes in the stomach and is protected from the acid, but the acid will displace its carrier protein, and once it goes into the ileum, it will be absorbed. Now, if the person is taking H2 receptors or any medications that will minimize the production of the gastric acid or pepsin in the stomach, that is going to impair the production or the absorption of vitamin B12. Vitamin B12 cannot be manufactured in our body. However, the body can store this in our liver and other organs, and there is normally a long storage which can last for few years. So there has to be deficiency over a long period, and this can happen in people who have malabsorption. There are problems with their stomach or intestine. Either they had operation on their stomach for gastric ulcer or for other reasons. And on top of that, once it is in the stomach, there has to be intrinsic factor attached to it, which will then help the B12 to be absorbed. If you are taking any of the medications to stop the gastric acid in your stomach, things like H2 receptor antagonist, including cimetidine, famotidine, nizatidine, ranitidine, and others, and even the proton pump inhibitors like omeprazole, lansoprazole, rabeprazole, pantoprazole, and esomeprazole, they all will affect the absorption of the vitamin B12. Metformin reduces serum levels of vitamin B12. Up to 30% of people taking metformin. B12 dependent MTR, which is methionine synthase, may have neurological effects through an indirect mechanism. Adequate methionine is not generated from homocysteine by a B12 dependent reaction, is needed to make S-adenosyl methionine, which in turn is necessary for methylation of myelin sheath and phospholipids. So what happens if there is lack of B12? Then methionine is not converted into S-adenosyl methionine. Now, if this doesn't happen, then SAMe or S-adenosyl methionine, which is required to provide the one carbon methyl carbon methylation of myelin sheath will not happen and to form the phospholipids. So that can cause the nerve cell not able to communicate with the other nerve cells, or there might be messages which are passed only partially, will cause these problems. Now, S-adenosylmethionine is also involved in the manufacture of certain neurotransmitters, catecholamines like dopamine, serotonin, noradrenaline, and adrenaline. And it is also used in other brain metabolism. Now, B12 is a cofactor in DNA synthesis and in both fatty acid and amino acid metabolism. So if there is deficiency of B12, the biggest effect of this is seen in megaloblastic anemia caused by B12 deficiency, where the cells, the nucleus becomes smaller because there is problem in the DNA synthesis, and the cytosol or the cytoplasm gets slightly bigger, and there is what we call is megaloblastic anemia. It is particularly important in normal functioning of nervous system via its role in the synthesis of myelin and in the maturation of RBC in bone marrow. So these are important in the process of B12. The next vitamin on our list is vitamin C. Now we know that vitamin C is common in citrus fruits, it is antioxidant, but for the mental health, it is the vitamin that is required when dopamine is being converted into noradrenaline. In the process, we need vitamin C and oxygen to help that process happen. If there is a lack of vitamin C, this will not happen. Dopamine will not be converted into noradrenaline, which we know is the neurotransmitter involved in depression, anxiety, mood problems, and it can go up and down, and this is going to have a big impact on our emotional regulation. Humans cannot synthesize vitamin C, therefore we need it from the outside, whereas other organisms, some of the birds, some of the animals, they can produce vitamin C from the glucose, but during the process our gene has mutated and there is a defect in the conversion of glucose to vitamin C. Vitamin C is a cofactor in mammals in the synthesis of collagen. Collagen is the tissue in our bones, in our cartilage, and if there is a lack of vitamin C, there will be problem with the formation of collagen. That means our bones will be weak, they will be less powerful, and they can break easily, as well as powerful reducing agent. So vitamin C, because the structure of the vitamin C is such that it has the power to reduce the agents. Now what happens is, in the body there are number of chemical reactions going on, and during the process there are number of reactive oxygen species, and these can be dangerous, especially they can affect the lipid metabolism, or they can destroy the cell membranes or lipid membranes and other areas in the cell, because all the internal organs like Golgi apparatus, mitochondria, and they produce these reactive oxygen species. They need to be quickly cached and neutralized, and the way vitamin C, because of its powerful reducing agent properties, it can take the oxygen and neutralize it. Reducing agent means loses electron and gets oxidized itself. So reactive oxygen species are chemically reactive and they contain oxygen. And examples will be like peroxides, superoxides, hydroxyl radical, and singlet oxygen, alpha oxygen. There are a number of them, but they are all in the dangerous and they need to be neutralized quickly. The next vitamin on our list is the vitamin A. This is basically for vision and especially for low light vision and color vision. There is some mention that vitamin A can or has been noted to be low in people who suffer with depression and in people who have developed dementia or cognitive problems like Alzheimer's disease. Vitamin D. Now, vitamin D is mainly involved in the absorption of calcium, magnesium, and phosphate from the intestine. Now, calcium plays a bigger role in the process of passing on the releasing the neurotransmitters from the axon terminals. So if there is a problem with the vitamin D deficiency, there will be problems with the calcium balance in the brain, in the blood, and that may be compensated by certain things, but because there is lack of vitamin D, this can cause imbalance. And we know that there are vitamin D receptors. These are like gates on the cell membrane of these neurons, and they are present. Vitamin D receptors are present in the brain, and if the vitamin D is deficient, therefore they are going to affect the functioning of the nerve cells. We also know that in vitro, vitamin D increases expression of the tyrosine hydroxylase gene in adrenal medullary cells and affects the synthesis of neurotropic factors, nitric oxide synthase, and glutathione. Now, that is other functions of the vitamin D. However, they are related with mental health because adrenal medulla will produce adrenaline, and if there is deficiency of this, these things are going to be affected. We stop here. If you like the video, please click on the like button. Thank you.